Okay, I think we're good there. Moving right along to item number 7.2, the Harm Reduction Coalition of Santa Cruz County Syringe Services Program Annual Report. Boy, that's mouthful. I had this placed on the agenda basically so that it is made a matter of public record so that our supervisors, our public health officials could see this and know that it exists. This report, their initial report. The Harm Reduction Coalition of Santa Cruz County is sanctioned by the state California Department of Public Health to dispense syringes in Santa Cruz County. They are not affiliated with the SSP in any way, although they do have the same goal as the Syringe Services Program. We are both trying to do our best to provide harm reduction to our community. I wanted the links and the report and the numbers to be available to the public in an easily accessed space, which would be the minutes of this meeting. And I just wanted to look at some numbers real quick. And I forgot to do that one. Numbers of syringes dispensed, 796,060 in a 12-month period. Now, mind you, this report covers from 8/8 of 2020 to 7/20 of 2021. So this report is basically covering a period 2 years ago. So they dispensed 796,060 needles in that year's time, which amounts to 66,338 per month. They collected 432,705, which amounts to 36,058 per month. Which is they roughly brought back just a little bit more than half of what they dispensed. Right. The number of referrals to substance use disorder treatment programs in a 1-year period was 27 individuals. That comes down to 2.25 people per month were referred to treatment programs. The number of other referrals, whether it be for testing, for hepatitis C, HIV, Hep C, Hep A, Hep B, case management, different things like that. This is an all-inclusive sort of an umbrella, a referral umbrella. That's a total of 39 referrals in 12 months, which breaks down to 3.25 referrals per month. So if you combine those two numbers, that's 5.5 referrals per month to referring people to places that can help them with different problems. I've asked Mr. Williams to bring up our latest monthly report from the SSP so that we could just do a quick comparison of numbers of how many needles on our last report for a month did we dispense, how many do we feel we collected, and how many referrals in general were made. Would you happen to have that handy, Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I can pull up this month's report. I will point out that as far as for context of what they define as a referral, I do not have that. So I know we're trying to compare apples to apples here, but I will slide down to a note that we have on our report, which is to say that note 2 here, that all participants receive education on substance use disorder treatment, HIV, hepatitis C testing, opioid prevention, proper syringe disposal, and harm reduction. So if you recall, we have evolved the reporting. The word is not taken. So, as far as the definition of what we call a referral, it was in the past, we were, again, as far as clicking that button, using conversations that we had with participants in which they were actually linked to our MAP program, which is to say a warm handoff to a counselor, successful. Two, that is I would say the top range. Two, a rich conversation that we had with an individual who indicated that they intended to contact treatment because of our conversation. That could have ended with a brochure handoff and someone saying, yeah, but I don't have time at the moment. But they got that phone, we had the conversation, so we would call that a referral. And that was amounting to, I'll just call it 8% roughly of our participants were receiving referrals. Now, when that information got into the public, there was a misunderstanding of what that meant. You know, like, oh, you're only referring this many people. People were taking it as, oh, you're only giving information about treatment to 8% of your participants, when that truly was not the case. When you're giving information, trying to have those conversations, but we're only counting those conversations that we felt was leading to someone actually connecting with treatment, counting that as a referral. What we now do is we put a quarter sheet with information about MAP providers into each supply kit. Not only that, but we have information on our MAP program and our smoking kits, and some of our other resources that we put out. And we also have a brochure for Janice available in the exchange. They call us when have conversations that be there to Janice. But there are other education resources that we hand out. But the distribution of those MAP providers in each exchange kit with each encounter is 100% education offered. You know, it sort of closes that loop. Yes, we are giving information, whether or not the person comes in and is like, I just want you to, I gotta go. And just give me some of those supplies. We're giving that information. We have signs saying that they're going to get that information. So with that, when the Harm Reduction Coalition says that they have this many referrals, I'm not sure how they're defined. I just don't know their definition.
For clarity, let me throw you on pause real quick. For clarity, their definition of referral, these numbers that I read off of this report, could be what they consider the warm handoff to an actual person on the other end. So, which would shrink the actual number from, I can't figure out how to say it right. Their number, this low number may be misconstrued because it's, you know, it could be actually dropping somebody off at Janice instead of saying, hey, Janice is available for you. Here's a sheet with the numbers. Maybe you should call them. That would give a much larger number. So they might have a much narrower definition of referral than what you're using. So there could be some misunderstanding in this.
There could.
Okay.
And that's yeah, that is an issue that, you know, thankfully with these commission meetings and seeing how things are construed by the public, we put out information without the whole context. But that is something that we in the exchange look to clarify to some extent by firstly, okay, listing through our script some of the referrals directly made, or I should say education offered directly through the script that we run through with each participant. For instance, with each exchange, we offer a sharps container. With each exchange, we offer Narcan, and those offers prompt conversation, which, you know, is what we're trying to enter into. We're not trying to pester someone, you know, it's really opening up the opportunity of conversation and education. But putting that on a report that, okay, each person gets that, and then reviewing with staff to make sure that we are following through is something that we do. But these two, as far as different organizations' definition of what is a referral, can be confusing and can be confusing.
Well, thank you for that bit of clarity there, because I can see how it would be seen differently by the public. So having that bit of disclaimer there is very helpful, I think, to the public. So on our report, on our latest report, do you have a number of individual clients that we're seeing?
Yes. So I'm still feeling here. We had a total of 69 unique individuals seen in the month of March, with 120 total encounters. And you can see that it's broken down from Santa Cruz and Adeline here as well.
Okay. And total number of needles dispensed?
Total number dispensed was 7,039.
Correct. In a 1 month period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And total number of needles we feel that we collected?
The total number collected within our exchanges was 8,389. So those are used syringes just brought to the exchange.
Not counting kiosks.
County kiosks. Kiosks are categorized separately. Another, thing that we put through these commission meetings to make it more clear to the public. So yeah, we have it categorized separately, and that is 55,337 deposited kiosks.
Okay. And number of referrals altogether, what you define as referrals, the way you described it.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a breakdown of that, or?
Well, the assumed breakdown is our, I would call it our unique client codes. So each individual of those 69 individuals receive that referral information.
Okay.
I will point out that we're continuing to try to get more and better data on those referrals. One of the ways, and if it's okay, I'll stop sharing the screen. One of the ways we're trying to do that, if I can share in a moment.
We were just looking at the clock.
I was just recognizing the time.
Okay. All right, I'll stand back. We are trying to improve that to get actual of those referrals, how many people were actually into treatment, what kind of treatment, etc.
Thank you. I just want to bounce this into the record, our numbers comparison. And this is in no way meant to disparage anyone, because we all have the same goal in mind, is to provide the best harm reduction we can for our community. The HRC in 1 year's time saw 54 unique individuals per month, whereas the SSP saw 69 unique individuals this past month. The number of syringes dispensed in 1 month on the average for the HRC is 66,338, whereas our dispense was 7,039 in a 1 month period. Wow. The number of needles collected by the HRC is 36,058 in a month, in your average month. This is just doing the math. Whereas the numbers collected at the exchange for the SSP is 8,389. Now, if we were to factor in what we feel that the kiosk has brought in by their weight method, that pushes it up to about 63,700 plus or minus needles in 1 month that were brought back. 63,000 as opposed to 7,000 that went out. And as far as the referrals from the HRC, because of the very high likelihood that they have a much different definition of referral than we're using, the disparity it would be really hard to really compare, because we are calling our definition of referral is giving educational material that could lead someone in the direction of help. Where that's probably not their definition. It seems like they probably have a much narrower definition than we're using at this point. So that's sort of an apples to oranges kind of thing. But I did want it in the record, the numbers. 66,338 in a month, as opposed to 7,039. Either we're doing something really wrong and they're doing something really good, or and we need to up our game, or I don't know. That's a disparity that I wanted noted. Any questions or comments?
Thank you for providing this fact sheet, this report from HRC Chair. I want to note that by HRC's own numbers, their own report, they handed out nearly 800,000 needles in 1 year. They collected back 400,000 more or less. So they're missing over 1/3 needles. I don't know how many 18-wheeler pickup trucks you would need to house or deliver 1/3 needles, but it would be a large number of trucks. And those needles are out in our community. So all the more reason to have those kiosks and collections, because I don't care if it's our needles or somebody else's. We need to get needles off the street and out of parks and off of beaches. But 1/3 needles that they are unaccounted for is over three times the amount of needles our program gives out an entire year. They've lost. So those needles are in our community somewhere. And that's why people get upset about exchange programs and not in my backyard or not in my office or not in that area, because they think it's going to attract needles when really we pick them up and clean them up and do a much better job. So thank you, Sharon. That's all I have. We have 6 minutes left.
I have one quick comment. Sometimes best practices, as it's written in some book somewhere, aren't the best practices in unique communities.
Mm-hmm.
What is being called best practices here seems to be very detrimental to our clients and our community. Ms. King, do you have anything?
No, in fact, I'd like to make a motion to table items 7.3 and 7.4 to our next meeting.
Yeah, I approve it. Wait, I second the motion. I don't approve it. I can't approve it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to table items 7.3 and 7.4